So we're going to see if our brother Martin is here, and he's going to be our guest, and we'll be talking a little bit. He's got an interesting subject for us. I'll let him tell us about it. He looks like he's coming on. Hello, Brother Martin.
I think I'm here now. Yeah, I'm here. So I'm back. Yeah, that. I think okay. We're good. Uh, I had a couple. Yeah, I had a couple. That was actually pretty interesting. I actually caught a little bit of that one. That was pretty good. I always wondered about where the serpent on the staff symbol came from, and
Yeah, may have been where it originated, or maybe they had it even before this, and they decided to use that to represent healing. You know what I mean? I'm like I say, it's not the questions in my mind are not fully answered in the subject, but it is something we're still using today. Same kind of symbol.
yeah, exactly. It's weird how some of those things hang on. I guess it's Jordan Maxwell that's done a lot of research into the occult and the symbols that go way, way back to ancient times. And it's interesting how that stuff sort of comes forward, and we still have it today in so many places. If you start looking for it, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
and no one really questions it.
yeah. People get used to the symbols, and they don't question it much anymore. I may have mentioned before, but I don't know. But both the swastika and the yin yang symbols are gravity motors, ancient gravity motors that were developed thousands and thousands of years. Who knows how long ago. I've seen the yin yang symbol portrayed as a machine in one of the ancient temples in China when I was visiting there back about 12 years ago now.
Wow.
One of the ancient, it was a yin yang symbol, but it had parts on it. It had weights on it, and it had all kinds of things. It was interesting. It was definitely a portrayal of as a man who built the gravity motors. It was no doubt in my mind that was the design of a gravity.
Well, one
So
of
we
the
built
things.
about 100. We built about 100 of those, and one of them actually was a self-rolling machine, and that's the one that Jerry Thomas. I say 100, different little bit changes each time. And that's the one Jerry Thomas verified recently on our YouTube channel. So I'm getting off subject. Go ahead. I'm whatever you want to talk about. Go right ahead.
Yeah. One thing I thought would be kind of interesting to talk about tonight is I don't know if we've ever actually talked about food production on a massive scale to actually feed the world. And I know the ministry probably has a number of technologies or solutions or at least processes or something for
Yeah,
growing large quantities of food. And
absolutely,
it probably doesn't involve petroleum.
absolutely. The solutions almost never involve petroleum. It's amazing. This planet apparently has an ocean of petroleum under it. There's huge amounts of petroleum. They always talk about energy shortages and they're trying to say we're running out of fossil fuels. It's baloney. Number planets or the original creation of planets. A lot of planets have an ocean, literally an ocean, almost covers the whole globe of petroleum underneath the crust, way down there, 5 miles down or so. And so there is no fossil fuel shortage and all this baloney. But on the other hand, it is polluting the planet pretty bad when we burn it and all that stuff. So that's good to come up with solutions that don't involve that kind of poison. It doesn't belong on the surface. It doesn't belong in our oceans. It doesn't belong in our drinking water. It doesn't belong, all this crazy stuff that keeps happening. Yeah, well, production of plants. We had this come up at the Bible school. I was teaching at Bible college here last few days, and they asked similar questions about before the flood of Noah's day. Did the plants have more protein and more health, more vitamins and so on? And nowadays, most plants are very low in protein, 1% or 2%, 3%. Did most plants have more protein before the flood of Noah's day?
You were saying that did the plants have more protein before the time of the flood? Um, I'd like to know the answer to that. I have to think right now the plants these days that they're growing are probably the poorest that they've ever been, given
Yeah.
the state of our atmosphere and our soils. One of the eye openers that I had was reading I guess it was either Christopher Bird or Peter Tompkins, the people that wrote A Secret Life of Plants. They also wrote a book called, or one of them wrote a book called Secrets of the Soil. And when I started reading that, I couldn't believe it. It's like we have completely decimated our soils, and the farmers are growing in very unfertile dirt, basically, and the plants are reflecting that. And that's been happening for a long time, probably for the last 100 years. They've been very poor. So I'm going to let you take it from here.
Originally, there was plenty of protein in the plants. Originally, man did not eat. God didn't tell them to eat animals. They didn't have to eat animals. There was plenty of protein in the plants. And today, the ministry has done a lot of experimentation, and we duplicated the environment, and not just us, but also Dr. Carl Baugh, who down at the Creation Museum there in Texas, where you are. It's actually not too far away from where you are. Hold on a sec. I'm going to try to help eliminate some noise here. Maybe if I put this curtain back up, it'll make it a little quieter. But he also duplicated the situation before the flood, the right atmospheric pressure and the right magnetic field, and so on. And he found amazing results with animals that he tested. We found amazing results with plants that we tested. We actually had potatoes growing that were 30% protein. That were 30% protein. When you ate them, it tasted like potatoes and gravy without the gravy. It tasted like the best potato you ever ate. I mean, it tasted rich and delicious. And all the plants would grow with much better protein if the atmospheric pressure was higher, and we experimented with oxygen and carbon dioxide levels too, and we found that animals did really good with 50% oxygen, lived a lot longer, a lot healthier. Even the rattlesnake didn't even look like a real rattlesnake. It looked like some other kind of animal. And Dr. Carl Baugh had that rattlesnake just a couple of years ago, and he's still growing it. It's living in an environment that's very similar to before the flood. Also, the quantum energy was much higher on the planet, and we duplicated that as well. And this rattlesnake, they tested the venom, and it's not poisonous. It's actually curative. A few drops of it a day cures a lot of things that's wrong with you. What's wrong with people? So this is amazing results with both plants and animals, showing that this world in a fallen state is not anywhere near what God intended for it to be. And actually, the technology exists to restore all this. The water canopy can be restored. God is talking about a new earth. If you read Revelation chapter 21, God is talking about a new heavens and a new earth. And then he says, I'm making all things new. Not necessarily making new things, but making all things new. And so the old things that have gotten out of balance, God's planning to restore them, put them back in balance like they're supposed to be. And then this earth will be a beautiful place again. It says that even a child will be able to play on the hole of a cobra, or the den of a cobra. You know, a cobra is a very venomous snake now, and they have a hole that they live in. So the child will be able to play right on top of the hole and not be worried about getting any bitten. It says there'll be nothing do any harm or cause any damage in all my holy mountain, saith the Lord God Almighty. And that's in Isaiah. It says that one. It says the wolf and the lamb will lie down together, sleep together. So the wolf won't be eating the lamb, even the lion. It says the lion won't. It'll eat grass like the bull. It says. So that shows you grass have to have a lot more protein in it. Otherwise, the lion can't eat grass and live. You know, it'd be scrawny and everything else. It dies. What would happen if you tried to feed a lion grass today? And same thing with people. You know, people have to eat protein from somewhere. Most plants are deficient in protein. And so there's a lot of possibilities and a lot of good technologies that can be. If people work together, we can get these things out now. And if anybody wants to start the growing centers, it starts with a consultation. You go on our website and look at the gifts page and request a consultation. Follow the directions, and we can tell you exactly how to do it. It's totally doable. It's just basically special greenhouses. It's best if you run the whole thing and the whole operation on quantum energy, but you don't have to. You can do it all with regular electricity and so on. But it's all totally doable. You'll get a lot faster growing of plants. I'd say they grow in about typically in 1/3 the time, although we did another process where we got radishes, which normally take 30 days, 30 to 40 to 50 days. We had them growing from seed to full to seed. So
okay, say that one more time. You had radishes grow from seed to what?
To edible size, which is about the size of a quarter, a little bigger than a quarter, $half. To edible size in 3 days. And if you waited 5 days, they're growing to seed. They're ready. So any plant can be sped up in the growth cycle tremendously without sacrificing vitamins, without sacrificing. The proteins were higher, way higher. Vitamins are way higher, less toxic. Radishes. That strong, stingy flavor is fine in moderation, but if it gets too strong, it's not good for you. They're actually milder in taste. You didn't even hardly notice the strong, stingy flavor at all on the radishes. And they actually tasted meatier or more like protein because they were higher in protein. And that's where people don't realize. People try to say, well, how are we going to live? If we don't eat animals, and the answer is the plants are designed. Most of them will go right back to their original design if they get the right environment. Their design is to produce quite a bit of protein for people and animals.
That's really quite amazing. I take it. You're talking mostly about atmospheric changes, pressure changes. Are you still using soil? Is this hydroponics, or what's that process possible?
We've worked it both ways, and you can do it without soil and just nutrients in the mist. It comes out in mists every 30 seconds or every 2 minutes or something. There's this mist of vitamin mist that comes out. And this is actually being used in space right now. There's a number of space stations, top secret stuff. There's way more space stations than most people know about. And there's space stations not just around the Earth. There's space stations around the Moon. There's space stations around Mars. There's a lot more space stations than people know about. And they're growing food up there in those space stations. There's also off-world bases that most people don't know anything about. Probably half of them won't believe it. But they're growing food also, and they usually don't use dirt. They usually, like I say, it's they just mist every minute, 2 minutes, the right vitamin combination, and again, the right atmospheric pressure. A lot of these space stations are run on quantum energy, so they can put a high voltage quantum energy field above the plant that makes it grow faster and still quite healthy, like I say. It's basically, that's all it is. It's the right voltage, you can imprint the right frequency, so it's pulsing, like pulsating DC, and that helps even more. It doesn't have to be pulsating DC. It can be just a DC field, quantum energy DC field up above it, balanced, so it doesn't run away on you. But that's what you want for the ship anyway. So you just basically have a high voltage field, and that can be a simple screen. So it's real simple. These techniques are not real complicated. For space, you do need more. The ideal pressure is higher. I think it's like 5 times higher than it is on Earth. But so in space, a lot of times they don't do that. They don't wind up, But a lot of the secret bases do have that, and there's actually a lot of stuff going on with the advanced food growing techniques. These growing centers are a technology that we've developed, and we are interested in giving away to the world. So, like I say, anybody that wants to work on growing centers, feel free to get a consultation with us. Again, you can go to our website, wits.ws, and look on the gifts page, and it starts with a consultation. So,
yeah, that's really awesome. We really hadn't talked about that much before, and I think that's fascinating stuff, because I know that I kind of focus on the energy aspect of things, because I feel that that's sort of fundamental to everything. It frees you to just start doing other things, and but that's really fascinating how we really do have a solution there to feed as many people as we need to, really. So that's fantastic.
Amen. God has all the solutions. It's just people have to work together to make these things happen.
I agree. So one of the other things that I just came across this morning, I believe, was it was a short YouTube video that featured in it. They were talking about the suppression of free energy technology, And this is just I think it was about a 6-minute clip or something. But they had some footage of Bruce DePalma, and maybe some of the listeners have heard about him if they're into free energy and some of the inventors behind it. But maybe you could talk a little bit about Bruce DePalma. I know that he's not with us anymore. He's probably working on the other side. But
Yeah.
you could tell us maybe a little bit about who he is, and then we're going to talk about Edgar Mitchell a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Bruce DePalma, when I first heard of anybody else working in this field, like I say, I began to get ideas when I was 8 years old, and I did a number of experiments, but had very little success. But when I was about 25 or 28 years old, I heard about Bruce DePalma, and he's a PhD in physics, I believe, if I remember right. It might have been electrical engineering, but it was one of those two. And he had built a unit he called an N machine, which is a unipolar generator. It's a machine that spins and puts out electricity, DC electricity, low voltage, high amperage. And he was reporting over unity, or over 100% efficient with the system. And a number of, I'd say at least two different engineers went in there and verified it. And that's good to have independent verification, because that's what separates the scam artists from the real thing, when they got independent engineer verification. And so that definitely piqued my interest. And so I called him, and we supported him in the early days. The world of myself, and I hadn't heard about the ministry yet when I first heard about DePalma. So we wanted to see this stuff go, and I guess your thoughts about Edgar Mitchell there. Yeah, he kind of came in and tried to cause some problems there. Is that what you're getting at? Why don't you tell us? Because you probably don't know.
Well, on the video, Bruce was talking about how Edgar Mitchell, who had just been set up with I believe it was a nonprofit institution to help these new energy inventors and help bring out new technology, came down to visit him, and apparently Bruce got offered to be bought out, and Bruce said, no, I don't want to be bought out. Well, they basically then threatened him and said, if you ever do anything in the States with this and try to bring it out, it ain't going to happen. And so I guess Bruce did go, he moved out of the States. Where did he end up, in Australia or New Zealand or something?
I can fill in a few gaps. If I remember right, he wound up in Australia, but I could be wrong. It might have been New Zealand. But a few gaps there. Another little bit of information. They actually gave him a gag order, which is a government order that says if you talk about your own machine or your own equipment, your own device, you can go to prison, is basically what it says. And plus a number of huge fines and all this. That's called a gag order, and they still give them out today. Thank God the ministry has never gotten a written gag order. We've gotten threats, but we've never gotten a written gag order on anything we've done, thank God. Because once you do that, if you violate that in the United States, the gag order comes from the United States government, but almost any government can give you one of these. And if you violate that, so if you even talk about your technology, or even talk about another technology that the government thinks is the same technology, because most of these guys are idiots, they don't know the difference between one and the other. And then they can arrest you and put you in prison the rest of your life. So Bruce DePalma actually wound up leaving the country. He what was the terminology? Exile. He used the term exile. He was exiled from the United States. He actually had to leave the country in order to work on things, and eventually died in it was either Australia or New Zealand where he went to. But he was a good man, and he was one of the few that had real over unity devices. Even today, most of them claiming to have over unity devices do not. Very few. Again, you need to look at the independent engineers to see if they actually have any real independent engineers to help people. A lot of people are confused on this issue. We get a lot of questions on the emails and on the YouTube videos. And I encourage everyone to watch all the YouTube videos. There's 28 or 29 of them there that are public on WITTS 2014 channel on YouTube. And that's WITS 2014. There's not two T's, just one T. And you can see 7 or 8 or 9 independent engineers. I think we got 8 now. And it's good. So it's good. That helps people realize that if they're independent, they're not getting paid to say these things, then there's some real truth there. And that's the way it was with Bruce DePalma. Edgar Mitchell came in, and he was one of the questionable ones that call them con artists or whatever you want to call them, that are pretending to help, and they're actually causing problems. And he's obviously an intelligent guy, Edgar Mitchell, and I don't know that he's bad deep inside, but on the other hand, he definitely caused some problems, not just for Bruce DePalma, but also for Joseph Newman, who also has a machine that he gets over Unity and demonstrates a number of times. And he's had independent engineers also. So both Bruce DePalma and Joseph Newman have had independent engineers. And I would say that's most of it on this planet. Bruce DePalma, Joseph Newman, and ourselves. There is another guy, John Bedini. He, different independent engineers say different things, so I'm not going to stick my neck out on that one. But the other two, I can say, have had over Unity confirmed by independent engineers, as well as WITTS, World Improvement Through the Spirit Ministries.
And then, speaking of the end machine, there was a fellow in India, I believe, Tawari, that picked up work on that, and he was also told to basically stop and don't work on that anymore. So
yeah. The government funds these things, and then, like in India, the government funded that. They didn't fund Bruce DePalma, but they did fund Tawari. And then what really happens is the government gets...
Oh, I think we lost you there. Re-explain that. You said what really happens is the government...
It funds it to a certain extent. Are you hearing me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, they fund it to a certain extent, and then once it gets to a certain level, then they say, well, we funded this, so this is our stuff. So officially it's being shut down, but really it's going top secret. And they use it in their bases, their top secret bases. And, we've been flying anti-gravity machines on this planet way longer than people would believe, and building them here. And not all of them that people see are from extraterrestrials. So I'd say over half of them are built here, maybe more. And these things run on something. They don't stop at the gas stations. They're running on the gas energy systems. You'll never see a flying saucer parked at the gas station filling up with gasoline. It's just not the way it works, And so the rest of the people need to wake up and smell the roses. I'm constantly blown away at people and their misconceptions, because the TV and the media both promote most of these misconceptions, so that's why a lot of people have misconceptions. Common misconceptions. You want to tell us a couple common misconceptions, brother?
Well, there was another one. There was another one that I saw. This is by a fellow named Larkin Rose. He's a, I'm not sure if he's a doctor or what, but he's very active in exposing the IRS and the banking. And one thing he did, he put a short video together that I just saw today that's up on his website. And he gets a piece of paper out with a marks a lot, and he writes on there, "I give myself permission to steal from you." And he shows it up on the camera, and he says, "There, now it's okay if I steal from you because I've just said it's morally okay if I do that. So that makes it all right. Is that right? Oh, wait a minute." So then he comes up and he says, "Wait, this one I typed up and I printed it out, and I had my friends signed it, and they say it's okay for me to steal from you too. So now this is official. I have not only my own permission, but my friends have signed it. So this is official that I can steal from you and it's okay. Are you happy with that? So I'll be over tomorrow at around noon and I'll pick out what I want to take from you." Oh, wait a minute. I can do one better than that. And so then he brings up, look at here. I printed this one up. It's a little fancier, it's got all the blue color border on it, and it's all pretty, and the language is all scripty looking, and it's signed at the bottom. Now this really makes it official. So now I can really steal from you because this is an official document. It's got all the nice borders on it and everything, and so this really makes it okay, doesn't it? I mean, isn't that okay that I come steal from you now?
Might as well get it notarized. Might as well get it notarized a few times because that's what the bankers do.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. And then he sits back. He says, "Does that sound crazy? I mean, why do you think that sounds crazy?" And then he picks up a copy of the Constitution and has one line highlighted in it, and it says, this gives the Congress the authority to levy taxes. Isn't this the same thing? You know,
Absolutely.
who gave these men the right to basically steal from you? And you know,
Are you sure it's the Constitution and not one of the other things that came along later?
no, I think it was the United States Constitution, but
Okay.
the
But I
very
didn't, on the Constitution, I didn't know that the Congress had the right to levy taxes. I'm pretty sure that originally they only had the right to tax tobacco, alcohol, and firearms. And,
That's true.
And for like 100 years, that was all they were allowed to tax. If you weren't working on tobacco, or you weren't working on firearms, you weren't working on alcohol, then they didn't have any right to tax you. But I'd have to double check it. So
no, that's my understanding. Also, the taxes are a very new thing on the individual and their work. In fact, it's just this past century. So, but
Yeah.
anyway, I thought that was a very good point that he made. In that, listen, why we're taught in school from when we're very young to basically believe these things, and we never question it. Why is that we never question it? Why don't we think about these things? Why aren't we? Why are you basically letting people steal from you? I mean, how come you don't speak up against that? So he made a very, very good point with that little video there. And so there, it's like, we're so many times we're living the lie is what I always like to say.
Yeah.
There are so many lies on top of lies on top of lies that we just go about our daily lives and we don't think about it. But boy, we are very off track, and we got to start thinking.
Those are some excellent misconceptions that people think taxes are legal. I want to clarify a little bit. You say it's a new thing to get taxed on the individual and on his income. IRS was never ratified. I've checked into this. I'm absolutely convinced that, and that's why it said last time I looked at the tax forms on top of the form, it says voluntary. That was 10 years ago, roughly. Last time I looked at them, people, if it's voluntary, then you don't have to volunteer for it. It's that simple. And there's been a number of people that they said that to the IRS, and the IRS couldn't do much to them or didn't do anything to them because it's true. The IRS was never ratified under the Constitution. They went ahead and pretended like they were. They were voted down 3 times.
I think that's the 16th Amendment from 1913, I believe, is when that all came about.
Yeah, but it didn't get passed, and they went ahead and pretend like it got passed.
Right. Just like they pretend they have the right to come in and steal from you.
Yeah, because they got a certificate that says that, and they got a gun, right?
And they got guns, yeah. And it's not okay for you to have guns because they say so.
Yeah, because they're the ones stealing. The honest people can't have guns. That would be too easy for them to defend themselves.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a crazy, mixed up world when you really start thinking about it. And it just boggles my mind how people go about their lives and they, what are they thinking? Are they thinking anything?
Well, they've been brainwashed over and over again, and Jesus did say, "Give unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's," and so they hear that in church and they think, well, that means that the United States, the corporation called the United States of America, we should give them money, But actually, there's no reason you should give any corporation money unless you're buying something from them, and you shouldn't have to pay your basic freedoms like air to breathe and places to walk and food to grow in your backyard and stuff like that. You shouldn't have to buy any of that. That's and corporations don't own that anyway. They don't own the air. They may think they do, but they don't. They don't own the ground. They don't. It's anyway.
Yep.
Anyway. More people wake up and smell the roses and we'll start working together for world improvement. We can fix a lot of these things. If people will just work together, if everybody decided they're going to get rid of the IRS, it'd be easy to put them all on trial for fraud because they're pretending to be a government organization, but there's plenty of proof that they're not. Same thing with all these corporations. They're corporations. They're not government agencies. Most of them are pretending to run the government. They should all go on trial for treason. That's what they should do.
Yep.
But anyway, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
My opinion.
Why do you have to pay to live on a planet you were born on? Where does that come from?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It comes from brainwashing.
That's right.
The animals don't pay. The animals run wild in the woods, and they're not like, they're surviving. Some of them are prospering better than others, but this whole world could be a prosperous place. If people worked in harmony together to make it a
Questions?
prosperous place. Yeah,
I think
got some questions.
Yeah, I think we have some questions now.
Two questions, and thank you. Let's see. And if anybody I don't cover your questions, it's because it's something that we don't usually cover. I got a question from Randy. It says in Matthew chapter 9, verse 6, Jesus said, "But so that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins." And then he unquote. And then he says, because Jesus uses the term Son of Man, is he saying that he is giving us the authority to forgive sins? You want to comment on that, brother, or you want me to?
That's your question.
Okay. We did do some excellent teaching on the Son of Man in earlier shows, and now they're being put up again on Vimeo. But basically, the Son of Man is us. You're right. Anybody that's surrendered to God and comes to God and still here on earth, you're a son of man, and you're also sons of God. We're sons of God. We're sons of man. We do have authority to forgive sins, but it's talking about, when people say authority to forgive sins, sometimes people are trying to figure out, is this like you're forgiven of all your sin? And what I'm going to say is that we forgive sins toward us. In other words, if somebody's robbed me or whatever, I can forgive them, and they're forgiven. But before God, He may call an account of that. You see what I'm saying? God may or may not forgive that person. Now, God does like to forgive sins, so He's probably quicker to forgive sins than I am. But on the other hand, the Bible does say they have a personal stand before God, and they'll be given an account of the good things they did and the evil things they did, and God will judge them, is what it says. So just because I forgive somebody doesn't mean that God forgave them, but I tend to think that God's very forgiving. So if people really repent, turn around, and try to make things right, then God will forgive them. Basically, is what goes on there. So yeah, the Son of Man does have a lot of authority here on this earth, forgive sins and not forgive sins. And and if you don't forgive, the Bible says if you don't forgive, then God won't forgive you either. So that's probably the only thing that God says He's not going to forgive. If we don't learn to forgive each other, then God's not going to forgive us. So it's important. It's a very important issue. And thank you, Brother Andy, for bringing it up. Looks like he's got another question here. It says, is there any way for us to get ionization type water purification in our homes? Can we build it or buy it? And does this eliminate volatile compounds such as fluoride, etc.? Super ionization, super ozonation machines that we've developed over the years those technologies they do eliminate fluorides and all kinds of poisons and toxins, just about everything except salts. And salts is a different technology. So let's see. So the answer to the question is, on a commercial scale, these things are available, and there may be somebody we've sold this on mass production.
Yeah, well, we got to. You skipped out on us for about 10 seconds there. You were saying you sold it to, then it cut out.
Ministry sold this in the early 90s to an organization, a corporation in Europe. And what they're mass producing, I don't know, but I know they are making machines on a large scale. And so people would have to research this themselves and just type in super ionization, super ozonation on the computer. Now, we still do some work in that area, but we're not mass producing anything at this point. And we'd like to, but everything takes funding, everything takes money, and so on. So I guess that answers that question pretty well. And do you have any comments, brother? We've got a couple other questions.
No, I think you answered. I'm a big fan of that technology. Also, we met someone. He's sort of a friend now because we met him a while back. But he actually has he is selling something. It's a water. I guess you might say it makes structured water for your home. It's a whole house structured water and filter for your home. It does not do the ozonation or the ionization, but it is based on vortex technology and filtering technology. So it structures the water, and it's apparently he's had some remarkable results with it. So
There are a number of companies out there that have some really good water. Even Pinto water is pretty good water. But the simplest and the most affordable is distilled water. And you can get distilled water, if you're in a rainy area, you can get distilled water just by putting a glass container out in the rain and fill it up with water. If you're in a city, I don't recommend that because as the rain comes down, it picks up the pollution in the air. And so you wind up with, a little bit of fossil fuels from all the exhaust. If you're in the country, like here it rains all the time. I mean, if I'm thirsty for water, I just hold the glass out the window and it's full in about 2 minutes. I drink all the distilled water I want. And it's delicious. There's no bacteria or anything. So there are ways to get cheap water, and it's very clean and very healthy. But in cities, it's more challenging. I think God necessarily intended for people to live in cities. Go to the next question here. It says, I'd be curious to know what technology WITTS has that is closest to being ready for commercial rollout. And the answer is we commercially rolled out the QUEET, which is about 13 years ago. So I'd say that one's the closest, 13 years ago. And this particular guy actually got a couple samples, and he stuck them in a drawer and never even used them. So we won't say anything. Well, we won't give his name over the air. We'll just pray for him. And,
there has been quite a number of people that have done some pretty amazing little experiments with those QUEET strips. So
it's very well. We've had literally hundreds of independent engineers document different things, and one of them is up on YouTube. There's actually 7 or 8 verifications of our technology up on YouTube, where engineers have come in there and told them plainly how it worked and how it worked over Unity. They stuck it on a battery and measured the battery carefully ahead of time, measured the battery carefully afterward, and it's over Unity. That's pretty clear, and not just one person saying that, but many persons saying that. So. And plus, it works for healing. The QUEET, for example, works for healing. It works for any like a solar panel, make it more efficient. Any kind of electrical system almost will make it more efficient. Almost anything. So, yeah, thank you for mentioning that, brother. Any other thoughts or comments?
Well, yeah, I think the QUEET may not be the quintessential home power unit everybody's waiting for, or something to drive their car around with. But it is quite an inexpensive demonstration of some very unique, a very unique device. I don't know anything like it at all.
Yeah, and it's very useful for healing worldwide. People get headaches, they put them on both sides of their head. Just as for listeners that haven't heard us talk about the QUEET before, we've talked about it a number of times on the show. But if you got a headache, you put a QUEET on both sides of your head, relax for a few minutes, program it. You got to program it with positive thoughts, positive beliefs, and your headache's usually gone in just a few minutes, 5 minutes or less. Most people, sometimes 1 minute, sometimes 10 seconds. One brother had a ladder fall on him. His shoulder really hurt. He was in pain, and he asked me to please rush one of these to him, and so I rushed one to him overnight, and he put it on his shoulder, and he said in 10 minutes the pain was totally gone. He'd been hurting for 3 or 4 days at that point. A ladder fell right across his shoulder while he was working, and 10 minutes. Another lady, broken hip, 10 years suffering, both hips were broken by the end of that 10 years because she fell a couple more times, and they weren't healing. She's like 70 or 80 years old, I think 70. Maybe 80, and her husband ordered them, put one on each hip, and they called me up 10 minutes later crying, saying this is the first time she hadn't had pain in 10 years. And the doctors had reported 6 months later, doctors reported that they've seen that the bones are starting to mend back together.
Wow.
So this type of technology, it enhances any dominant energy field, any energy field pretty much, which your body is a dominant energy field. So that's why it works the best with the human body. And when you get the energy flowing, then things start happening. And, so it's an opportunity for everybody. We should be selling, in my opinion, everybody should have 1 or 2. They almost never wear out. So far, they've been in existence since we developed them 13 years now. And the 13-year-old ones are working just as good as they were 13 years ago. So it looks like they never wear out. So that's another good thing for people.
Wow.
Got another question. Go ahead.
I was going to say, do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I got two more. Brother Randy, and he says, "Do you think HAARP message? Excuse me. Do you think HAARP messing with the stratosphere is really risky?" Yeah, it's really risky. Yeah, they blew off a huge chunk of atmosphere when they first started playing with these machines. Their HARP is just the one that people know about. There's actually about 37 of these machines, top secret, and they're huge. They're vast arrays of super-powered or high-powered antennas that broadcast energy into the atmosphere. And when they first turned them on, I think it was the one in Alaska, but they had them way before the one in Alaska. They had them probably 15 years before that. When they first started playing with these things, yeah, they lost a huge amount of atmosphere because they over-energized it, which means it became more anti-gravity than normal, and it literally blasted it out into space is what happens. And yeah, so if they keep playing with these things, they can kill everybody on this planet.
Have you heard of the birds dying up here? They've had some mass die-offs of birds up in I guess it was Arkansas, and then in like thousands of birds fell out of the sky in Arkansas. They've also had it in Louisiana, and they've had fish dying off in some of the rivers, like big fish die off. And there's another thing I think just happened in California or something, but this happened within the last few days.
Wow.
Have you heard anything about that?
Hadn't heard about it here on the other side of the world. That's amazing. What did they attribute it? Did they give any kind of explanation?
Yeah, let's see. The first one, the officials said that it was fireworks, and so 1,000 birds fell out of the sky because of fireworks.
It'd be some powerful fireworks. Right on target, you know.
So, but I don't know. I think it's pretty much all speculation now. But I know that a lot of the alternative community is they're thinking it's either they're dumping poisons out of planes, or they're using some of the HAARP technology or some of the electromagnetic technology.
Yeah, it's interesting that you know, these things are happening. I think you're right. I think it's a HAARP type technology or something. You know, fish could be attributed to the oil spill in the Gulf, even up in the rivers, because you know, that there is some exchange there. But birds in the air, I mean, unless it's you know, they were burning a whole bunch down there in the oil. They were burning that, or you know, they're setting the oceans on fire basically, and you know, that pollution goes somewhere. And if the birds would hit a big cloud of that, and they keep trying to fly through it, they can't get through it. Yeah, I can see a bunch of them falling out of the sky. Yeah, it's you know, man is up to no good here, and people need to repent so God can heal this place. You know, people need to start working together for better. I'd say fallen man is up to good. The people of God are working hard for a better place. Let's see what the next we got. Brother Tim from Denver says, "Can you give examples of energy or tech-related stuff that you guys give away plans for free in the past?" Okay. And then we got a few more things. Why don't you? Well, let's answer that part first. We started giving away the flux switch motor, flux switch generator in 1989, if my memory serves me correct, give or take a year or two. And before that, there was a whole bunch of energy and energy-related stuff given away, or sold really cheap. Matter of fact, our organization under Tesla, most of the 60-cycle stuff that's in existence now worldwide was pretty much given away. I mean, the ministry may have made a few dollars on it, but I don't think so. Very little, if we made anything. So for the most part, that was given away. And so basically everything you got, pretty much. We developed computers in the early days, developed you know, the big ones that were covering 3, 4, 5, 10-story buildings, 20-story buildings, all one computer. Those used relays. We were working in that field in the 1950s and 1940s because there was funding for that, and you know, it seemed like it could help the world. And in many ways, computers have helped the world. If it wasn't for computers, we wouldn't be able to do this show the way we're doing it now. So it wouldn't be reaching as many people. It wouldn't be as easy for people to access. So that's an example of some of the stuff we've given away. We worked on electric cars in the 1870s, 1880s. Most of that was given away. And again, people don't understand when you give these things away, it's usually the rich that take them and start mass producing them, and then you hear about the rich people mass producing. That's all you hear. You don't realize where it came from. And the rich people usually didn't develop it. They're just one of the people that capitalized on it, and they're good at capitalizing, basically. Next question: why are you no longer offering? A lot of the stuff is, but we are currently offering. If you are currently offering anything for free or plans, do you plan to continue to do so in the future? Yeah, on our website there's 5 different plans. The simplest one is the QUEET, and we recommend a consultation with that so you know how to use it. Put it on any battery. If it's a nickel cadmium battery, any appropriate batteries, and it'll go over Unity, generally speaking. And pretty much 9 times out of 10 on the right kind of battery, it'll go over at least a big significant jump in efficiency, at least 30-40% efficiency jump. A lot of times 300 or 400% efficiency jump. And then there's 4 other plans besides that. That's an actual product, and there's 4 other plans, different types of devices that are over Unity or energy devices. And we offer consultation with all those people that do persistent. They're persistent in getting the plans. They're persistent in getting the consultations. I recommend 10 hours of consultation. If you're not a PhD in electrical engineering and quantum physics, then you probably need at least 10 hours of consultation on any of the plans except for the 2 simpler ones, which is the QUEET and the atmospheric electric accumulator. So hopefully that answers your question, Brother Tim in Denver, and we thank you guys, all you guys, Brother Randy, Brother Tim, everybody for the questions. Brother Greg, appreciate Greg Martin sending them through to us, and that concludes the show, I guess. That's unless you have anything to add, brother.
No, I think it was a pretty good show tonight. I kind of enjoyed talking about that stuff. That was fascinating about the growing plants and so forth. We need to get this stuff rolling. It's crazy.
One of our brothers, he's passed away now, but he had a business for many years called Limits Are Unlimited. That's the name of the business. Limits Are Unlimited. And so he left that in his will to us. We can use the name, and it's a really good expression, and it's a real lot of good. When limits are unlimited, people just work together. We can literally fix anything. And food. Just imagine growing food in your kitchen, or just outside your kitchen, your greenhouse. A little room right connected to your kitchen. Every 3 or 4 or 5 days, you got a new crop. 6 days, whatever. This is fantastic. Everything's fresh right out of the garden. Ripe, and not pick green and then spray with gas, so you can, so it ripens when you pick it at the market. Just eliminate the market, eliminate all this money and greed and corruption. It's just people work together. We can make these things happen.
Yeah. I completely agree. So I guess we'll wrap it up. We didn't go well. We went a little far over, but. Had a few technical difficulties there in the middle, but
thank you, audience, for listening in, and we again apologize for the technical difficulties. But thank you, Brother Timothy Martin, for keeping everything going, keeping it all working. I couldn't do it without you. Appreciate it.
Well, I tell you, it takes a little bit of Scotch tape over here or something. it's all bundled together somehow. I don't know how it works. It's those computers. So all right. Well, listen, you have a great week, and it's been great visiting with you again.
All right. You take care. God bless you.
All right. Good night. Let's see. Good night, everybody.